All right, we're live. We'll give it a few seconds and let the people file in. Hopefully, we got some people tuning in. Hoping that number pops up from zero here momentarily. But yeah, we've been promoting this for a while. There's some people filing in, and yeah, we're freaking excited to do this. We'll start tonight with Selection Sunday, and the plan is to go through every night of the tournament, do a recap on the games those days, and talk about what we're looking forward to see the next day. But we are super excited about this. So, but today, Selection Sunday, always a national holiday. We only get it once a year, so we might as well enjoy it while it's here. But yeah, so we will have Jacob Pfefferkorn, who also writes for Sectator, host of the State of the Buck podcast. He will be on here momentarily. Diehard Purdue fan, so it'll be fun to talk to him. But yeah, I'm not trying to steal the show here. I guess I'll just direct traffic as we get started. But I'm Travis. This is William Luke.
What's up, guys?
We're together tonight. SEC champs celebrating here in Auburn.
Damn.
So enjoy it while we can. And with us, Matt, you can introduce yourself, talk about your allegiances, how you feel about college basketball, March Madness, any of that. I'll give you the floor. But I will say Matt is very knowledgeable on college basketball. He down to the mid majors. He knows his shit. So you Penn still student or grad? Where are you at?
No, I'm long grad now. Yeah, you notice I'm out of there now, but yeah, working for Penn. So it's yeah, going well. But hey, mid majors are the way to go. Got a few this year, but definitely heartbroken by Indiana State not getting in. That was my favorite the entire year.
So I set up our March Madness pool to put like $20 in. And if any of our friends are watching this and want to join, $20 entry, see how big we can get the pot up. But I did make that group Justice for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I feel like we were robbed of watching him in March. So
yeah, absolutely heartbreaking stuff there in the Moval. But Drake's a worthy team. I mean, they almost had Miami last year in the first round, and Miami made the Final Four. So
I mean, he said it though, and I feel like it's a good jumping off point for us to start there, like just like the bubble teams in general, and who like. I mean, it's never because the mid-major teams like they don't have the opportunity to bump up their resume in conference play that the Power Six, the high major teams do, and that's always tough. But do we really want to watch Virginia play in Dayton? Did anybody want to see is anybody excited to watch Virginia play in the tournament again with how bad they've been?
I don't want to watch Virginia play in Dayton. I don't want to watch them play in Columbus. I don't want to watch Virginia anywhere. So it doesn't matter where you're getting Virginia. Yeah, they're still clearly dining on that national championship run, and they're getting everything they want since they got a 4 last year when they didn't deserve one, got beat. So this year, I mean, I could see them beating Colorado State, but they don't have the athletes to beat Texas probably, and certainly not Tennessee. So no one wants to watch Virginia. I think I speak for literally everyone on.
Let me add this. I'm a sports journalist major at Auburn, right? And I talked to a lot of my friends here who are in the same majors. I mean, I was like, do you want to see Virginia in the tournament? And the consensus was no. They're just not a fun team to watch. It's like watching paint dry. It just sucks. It's a boring brand of basketball.
Yeah, I mean, it's boring as shit. They don't have it worked when they had lottery talent, when they had Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy and DeAndre Hunter, and now they have nothing really. They can't score as is. Those teams could at least score. They scored over 80 in the national championship game when they beat Texas Tech, and that Texas Tech team was the best defensive team in the country that year. So yeah, it's not the same Virginia that it was 5-6 years ago. This is just a torture chamber to watch them play. They're not the same defense.
They can defend their asses off, and the pack line, like, they will all be able to do that. But it's an antiquated version of basketball that, like you mentioned, it worked when they had NBA talent there to score and bail them out of situations. But when you can't score 50 points in a basketball game, and you don't have those guys to bail you out, and then you're just relying on your defense, it's like, you got to score points. That production has to come from somewhere. And obviously teams in the ACC and throughout have figured out ways to shut them down and stop that. And
the ACC stinks. Like, it's not a good league.
No.
It's a terrible league this year. And they couldn't do anything with that.
That's a good place to go. Like, because I've been saying all year, I think the Mountain West is the 4th or 5th best league in college. I think the Mountain West is a better league than the ACC. Eye on College
ACC
basketball.
and Pac-12, it's good. Yeah.
The Eye on College basketball podcast, which is a great podcast I love to listen to. They had a thing last year where they made a hypothetical Mountain West ACC challenge last year, and which I think the ACC is better this year than it was last year, but it still holds true. And when you go to, I feel like the Mountain West, first off, is the league that really got screwed. And like, Colorado State was the last team in. Boise State gets sent to Dayton. Nevada gets Utah State, which most brackets had Utah State as like a 5 seed, 6 seed. They get put in an 8-9 game. I really don't like what the committee did to the Mountain West there, and I truly don't understand it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they clearly, committee did not value anything done in the last 96 hours, really. I mean, Utah State, probably, like you said, was on the 5-6 line, and 8 now. It's a pretty brutal seeding. And San Diego State played the best non-conference in the Mountain West, but they probably get the bump from the run they had last year. So
New Mexico, which they won the league, won the Mountain West tournament, just went on a great run, and they get an 11 seed.
They very clearly would not have been. They would have been struggling to get in the NIT if they didn't win the Mountain West this year. By the looks of it, favorable first round matchup for them, but they struggled.
Hello.
Hey,
how's it going?
Oh God.
Pfeff, you came in at a great time. We are currently talking about. I know you just got back from the race.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you had a great time there. Great race in Bristol. Plenty of racing shows to talk about here on Spectator. Left Turn Colt. We'll certainly be talking about that tomorrow, and we'll be live with rows 1 through 10 this week to talk about it. But so Selection Sunday happened, and the Mountain West got screwed. That's like the first storyline in there.
How many teams got in? I haven't fully looked. I need to pull up the bracket. I know Purdue's like region. Utah State's there.
Purdue did get in. We can confirm.
Yeah. Purdue is in. 68 teams got in, if that's what you're asking.
No, I'm saying Utah State is like in Purdue's region. Like, they're playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Utah State got an 8. Which was one of the teams we brought up, and I thought that was crazy. They've had a great year.
They are a good team. I know I saw ETSU play them earlier this year. I need to figure out how good they actually, they're a good team, but we'll see. I need to figure out how good they actually are, because I didn't watch much Mountain West as much as
you didn't stay up for Mountain West after dark.
Yeah.
I'm going to kick you off this show.
Yeah, those Mountain West teams, all of them grind quite a bit. They're all grinders. They're all old. They don't have any freshmen. They're all old. They hit the portal hard. They're all tough as shit on defense. It's just, a few exceptions. New Mexico gets up and down, but they're still tough.
The Mountain West is the most fun league in college basketball. I've been speaking the gospel to him all year about it. Like, when we talk about ball and we talk about our picks, I love the Mountain West. I love that league. I think those are great. They had that one March, the COVID year, where all they had 5 teams and they all got knocked out in one day, and the whole league got wiped out of the tournament. And I feel like ever since then, the Mountain West has kind of had like that stigma following them around, that like their teams that don't get it done in March, this, that, and the other. And it's like, I hate college basketball of all sports. You can't do this like year to year. Like teams change year to year, leagues change year to year, and you can't do this like, this is all the same and reputations follow you around. It's just it doesn't apply in college basketball, but it for some reason.
Yeah, because every year a team is a different makeup of players, different chemistry, different everything, and like you can't judge them based on 5 previous years' performance.
So let me ask you guys this, which by the way, like just last thing on the mountain, Colorado State being the last team in is fucking insane.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, and Boise going to Dayton also. I thought they were going to be comfortably in, but evidently that is not the case.
Michigan State, who fucking sucked this year, did nothing, and they're comfortably in as a 9 seed.
They are a boring team to watch. As like a Big Ten fan, they honestly put in Indiana State over them any day. Like put them in, even though they lost to them. Put Indiana State over that. Put in teams people actually want to watch.
And the whole, I've said this to you guys in the group chat last week. It's just like, I know the committee, the way they pick teams is like they're looking at the resume, like your resume for the whole year, what you've done, but they don't, it's not college football. Like this isn't the eye test where you had like the Florida State, Alabama debate that we had at nauseum. Like that's not, the NCAA tournament is a different criteria than college football where, they value the eye test. How's this team look? How this team play against that team? This, that, and the other. That's not how the NCAA selection committee does things. So part of the criteria isn't the eye test. How has this team looked in the last month? How have they finished the season? No, they take the whole body of work and break that down, and that's how they make these decisions. But I wish that would be revised personally.
Yeah.
Because, like, sometimes the dang net ranking lies. Like, they could have they just play in a big conference and they aren't very good, like Wake Forest could have got in easily and they just fumbled the bat, like any of those teams at like that 10-11 seed line, they're just some of them aren't meant for March,
Well, Wake Forest will not be getting in because they attempted murder on Kyle Filipowski. They are banned. They're not allowed in the field after that. So,
hey Matt,
once they heard no court stormings, they were not interested in.
Remember the announcers from the WCC championship? Auburn is the same as Wake Forest.
That was a weird one. Yeah, I don't know where they got that from.
WCC championship, the announcers were like, yeah, Auburn, Wake Forest. Like, there are teams that only have one win. Like maybe let's not group us with Wake Forest, please. Like, I feel like we played a little better than that.
Yeah. When did they say this?
It was the WCC championship.
Yeah, it was in the middle of St. Mary's Gonzaga, and they just dropped that bomb on there. I don't know why. I don't know why it was still relevant. Wake Forest was pretty much done at that point.
That's what
very much so.
I sent you guys
anti-Semitic broadcasters probably going after Bruce Pearl, and they were basically trying to hit it there. Go after Bruce where it hurt. So they were just really trying to rub it in there. So
I sent the fucking the fucking 50 cents. Like, what'd you say fuck me for? Like, that's how I felt watching that. Like, WCC championship, we're just getting shit on
for no reason.
Yeah, that made no sense because both those teams, like, one, St. Mary's is comfortably in the field, and then Gonzaga is comfortably in the field. So I don't know why why are they bringing up, like, why don't we stray into the middle of the pack of the ACC and
Gonzaga's
talk about
been like
Auburn basketball?
Gonzaga's been like a storyline all year where they didn't have a great resume and they got that win over Kentucky. That was their first quad one win. And Gonzaga was a team that was viewed as a bubble team all year. And people are like, oh, they're going to have to win the WCC tournament to get in. And they're a 5 seed. So obviously they were probably comfortably in the whole time. Like, but they were a hotly contested, like viewed as a bubble team all year.
See, the thing
Yeah,
about
they played a really good non-conference. So
Gonzaga, like they started off slow, but I mean they had talent. Like I don't know why they were so close to the bubble as they were.
Well, obviously they weren't. They got a 5
Yeah,
seed.
yeah. They heated up and proved themselves as a team because Mark Few is one of the best coaches in college basketball. But just like that Kentucky win solidified it, so there wasn't ever a discussion after that.
Matt, for the record, by the way, for anybody watching, so you're a Kansas fan, or do you claim a team, or
I don't really claim. If I had to claim, I don't know. I mean, I grew up kind of cheering on Kansas and Kentucky because I love the Celtics more than anyone. So the Celtics had, Rajon Rondo and Pierce, who went to Kansas. So I kind of just claimed them. So recently, Boston sports has been kind of like, we'll claim the UConn championships if they come, but no. So yeah, don't really claim as much. I just go year to year with these teams, and
Dude,
I'm just
we can have a whole nother show about the Patriots and Red Sox. I will fucking we will talk for 3 hours about that.
more like 3 days. Yeah,
I'm a big Celtics fan too. I like the Celtics. That's the only Boston team I like, just because of when I started watching basketball. The Big Three was there, and my favorite player ever is Larry Bird. So
yeah, they beat the shit out of the Wizards today.
Yeah.
They crushed them.
It's St. Patrick's Day. What do you expect?
Yeah, Sam Hauser hit 7 threes in the first half.
Austin hits me up last night. It's like, should I go to the Celtics Wizards game for $200?
$200. First of all, I thought he was afraid to go into that part of DC. I thought he avoided that at all costs. So
he doesn't want to get an
he's
apple
willing
for
to drop
it.
$200. Yeah, no one's more excited about the Virginia move than him if it happens. So,
but okay, so yeah, let's get to the tournament bubble so we can kind of keep this moving and go region by region. But so I'll let everybody go, and I guess we can go in order. I'll throw it to William, Luke. I'll throw it to Matt, and then I'll throw it to Jacob. Do you want Jacob or Pfeff? What do you want us to?
I don't care. You can call me whatever. I really don't care.
We'll go with Jacob for now.
Yeah,
but,
so people get to know me.
Hell yeah! But so who do you guys feel was the biggest snub in this tournament? Who do you think got left out that deserved to be in, and whose place should they have taken? Do you want to go first, or do you
got it?
Matt, I'll let you go first.
Well, for me personally, I was really hoping for Indiana State. The non-conference probably wasn't there for them to get in, and their only chance was beating Michigan State. They didn't, and obviously winning the conference tournament, they didn't do that either. I would say St. John's probably. They played really well to close the season. They're obviously coached by, in my opinion, one of the 3 best coaches in the country, with Rick Pitino. They've been coming along better ever since he called out his entire team, telling them how bad they suck.
Did you listen to his Pardon My Take interview, by the way?
Yeah, he's something. So I kind of feel for St. John's. I feel they should have been in. I feel Oklahoma probably in any other conference they get in, but they didn't really have anything going for them. Didn't really have a big non-conference win they could count on. They beat Iowa State, but that's about all they had. But I think, really anyone over Virginia, the way I see it. Pitt didn't get in. Pitt had a horrible non-conference. They were 334th or something crazy, or 343rd. Joe and Artie said today. Pitt won. Yeah, Pitt won at Virginia, and Pitt didn't get in. Virginia did. So it's kind of, kind of complicated with that. But yeah, I would say, for me personally, it sucks seeing St. John's, Indiana State not get in. St. John's is not going to NIT, so they're just done.
They're not going. Wow.
So they declined the invitation. So that sucks. But yeah, I would say probably the biggest snub objectively for me would be Oklahoma. They played in the Big 12. That was the best league. Beat Iowa State, and Virginia just did not have, in my opinion, a better tournament resume ahead of teams like Oklahoma, teams like St. John's. So those two in particular, I think, were the biggest snubs objectively.
Oh yeah.
To me, Seton Hall got snubbed. They had wins over UConn, Marquette, St. John's twice, and Providence. They went 20-12, and they went 13-7 in their conference, and they didn't make it. And they were top 60 in like every metric you could look at, like net, KenPom, and I forgot the other one, but they were like top 60 in every measure you could look at. And they had a good conference like record. I don't know how they didn't make it. I'm so sad because like I love Frank the Tank, and that's his team. And I know he's devastated right now that they did not make it. I know he's somewhere freaking out that the Seton Hall Pirate, what's their mascot?
They're the Pirates. Yeah.
Didn't make it. I know he's freaking out. That's my pick.
Fev, who you got?
I'd have to say Indiana State for me, just because like they just would have been a great storyline for March. Like they were in the tournament even after they lost for this last week, but this madness with the tournaments, Oregon winning and NC State winning, that kind of screwed all the bubble teams to where everyone moved up a line and there was just a bunch of bid thieves, and now they're just going to have to play in the NIT, Seton Hall, St. John's, all of them got screwed. It just would have been fun to see a team like Indiana State get in the tournament, especially with a player like Avila, He would have been just one of those March Madness faces, There's always that one guy that everybody roots around as a social media sensation. I'm trying to think of some names of people in the past. Doug Eater on St. Peter's, people like that,
Yeah. All right, a team none of you have mentioned that I'll bring up here, like not necessarily saying like I think they're the biggest snub, but to bring up a different team that is Cincinnati. They same thing you say about Oklahoma. They played in the toughest league in the country, and they had 4 quad 1 wins. They got wins at Texas Tech, at BYU. Had to kick Kansas's ass in the Big 12 tournament, which Kansas didn't have Hunter Dickinson, McCullough, but they didn't have that. They didn't have the guys, but that's not what they're looking at. Let's still win over Kansas, and you beat Bill Self in the Big 12 tournament, which is a place they usually dominate. And 4 quad 1 wins, I think 6 and 9 in the first 2 quadrants. Like that's an NCAA tournament resume, and like you mentioned with Oklahoma, the best league in the country. And I don't think Cincinnati was even like one of the first 4 teams out or anything. I don't have that pulled up directly or anything, so I can't say like on the fly if
they were not close.
And they were a team that seemed like they didn't really get any consideration, and I didn't really understand that because I thought they had an NCAA tournament resume. So like I said, just for the sake of bringing up teams that we feel like had a case, I'll say Cincinnati.
Let's see. Cincinnati, they kind of struggled down the stretch in Big 12 play. They got kind of hot towards the end, but they just didn't have the offense to, stand out, carry them to the games they should have won, especially some of those upsets that would have put them into consideration. So they're coached by former UNCG coach Wes Miller, so we'll see how they do in the future.
Oh yeah. Well, you guys got anything else to bring up about the bubble? Like we mentioned, it's a crazy year with bid stealers.
Yeah.
Man. You had NC State, Oregon, UAB. Who am I missing? I know those 3 off the top of my head, but I mean, they said on here earlier that they've had 2 bid stealers combined in the last 3 years or something like that, and we had a lot this year. I don't know what the total number was, but
it was a pretty annoying bubble, all things considered. Just none of those teams are particularly very good. I mean, given the actual bubble, which apparently Boise State and Colorado State are on, then it's a pretty good bubble. But yeah, I could not give any less of a shit about where Virginia was playing or how they. I after NC State beat them in the ACC tournament, they should have been done then. But clearly, committee showed that they were not willing to take any conference tournament play into consideration, given Iowa State's seeding and Auburn's seeding. So,
yeah, which we can get to that. I mean, if you got two guys who want to talk about that, it's right there. But
Ridiculous.
you win the SEC tournament, you're top 5 in every metric in the country. Top 5 in the net, top 5 at Torvik, top 5 at KenPom all year, top 10 offensive and defensive adjusted efficiency all year, and you're rewarded with a 4 seed in the same region as the Big East champ. Which I guess we'll start in that region, and this can be our segue into that. But yeah, in the same region as I don't think has that ever happened. You put the Big East, Big 10, Big 12, and SEC champ all in the same region. That's insane.
So it's complicated because none of them won the regular season. It was just conference tournaments that they won.
That's UConn in the Big East. That's all.
Yeah. So Iowa State was second in the Big 12. Illinois was second in the Big 10. But off the top of my head, no, I can't remember any time where they just. I remember Wichita State had a pretty brutal bracket in 2014 when they were a 1 seed. They really
Kentucky.
stacked them up. Yeah, they got Kentucky, they got Louisville, they got Michigan, all in the same bracket. So that is the only other time that kind of comes to mind, but that's about it.
To be honest, that whole region is the toughest region by far. They got the toughest. UConn got the toughest 2 seed. Has Iowa State. I think Iowa State's going to go to the Final Four. That's my bold prediction.
Is Auburn the most screwed seeding team in the nation, or are we being unfair there?
I think they were projected for even before they won the tournament or the SEC tournament. I think the upsets might have hurt them. They might have moved up if they had played like a Tennessee or Alabama or someone like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing with Auburn. You have to factor in kind of they didn't have a huge non-conference win that they could lean on. They did not beat Kentucky and Tennessee the entire year. And they avoided them in SEC tournament play. That's the only devil's advocate you can really play for Auburn. Their seeding getting screwed a little bit. But aside from that, I thought KenPom was factored in now to how they seeded teams.
It is.
I thought all those advanced metrics were supposed to be factored in.
If you look on the NCAA website,
yeah.
It is factored into the seeding. And I had a chance of a couple months ago when me and William Luke went to talk to Bruce Pearl, and he was 100% that is and he said us as coaches, they worry about that stuff. They're concerned about that stuff. And he was very happy with where Auburn sat at all the computer metrics and everything. So, but obviously it didn't really make a difference here because we got a pretty brutal draw.
But Matt, about your point about the non-conference wins, outside of the Mississippi State win in the SEC tournament, every single one of Auburn wins have been by double digits. When they're playing these teams, they're not keeping it close. They're killing them. Every single one of our wins, we've blown them out. We've shown to be the superior team every single time. So I don't get how we're a 4 seed when we take care of business all year. We finish top in a really good conference, and we run our gauntlet of a schedule in the SEC tournament, and we win, and they still don't move us up a seed. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Even if I wasn't even an Auburn fan, I'd be like, how? How do you not move up?
What about the Appalachian State?
So basically, winning the SEC tournament was worthless for us.
Yeah.
And you could say the same for Iowa State. Winning the Big 12 and beating the brakes off of Houston did them essentially. That was already kind of decided for them. They took 2 or 3 from Houston, and Houston got the better seeding. So,
you're definitely right though.
Going into this week,
yeah.
the 3 of the 1 seeds were locked up, and pretty much Tennessee and Arizona fumbled were the only ones that had a chance of contending with UNC at that 1 seed line, and they both lost. Even though UNC lost, it was before UNC got to the championship, so that kind of locked it up for them. So
and Iowa State, I feel like got screwed out of that last 1 seed because I'll pull this up from Gary Parrish real quick, but so Iowa State was 10-6 quad 1, 6-1 quad 2, 11-0 quad 3 and 4. UNC was 9-3 quad 1, 7-4 quad 2, 11-0 quad 3 and 4. And when you factor in that Iowa State played in a much tougher league in the Big 12 than UNC did in the ACC and won their conference tournament, I don't really understand the reasoning of giving UNC that last 1 seed over Iowa State. And the fact that Iowa State, the overall 5 seed, the first 2 seed, is not allowed to be in the same region as the number 1 overall.
Yeah, that is in the
seed.
bylaws. Yep.
Yeah. So in which UConn was the number 1 overall seed. So Iowa State wasn't even, when you look at it that way, it wasn't even in consideration for that last 1 seed.
Yep.
Which, I mean, I just gave you the breakdown right there. They have a better resume than UNC, and I just, other than the blood branding aspect of it, which I have to imagine came into factor there, I don't understand.
Well,
the
it's that
argument.
and the non-conference. Iowa State played objectively nobody. They did not challenge themselves on their non-conference schedule. Texas A&M was their toughest game out of conference. Probably they lost, and then UNC has the Tennessee win that probably carried them through that. But still, I am not giving a 1 seed to someone who could not beat NC State in their conference championship game. But
this discussion we're having right now is why it's important, because UNC beat Tennessee on Thanksgiving. Yeah. And for anybody who says like, oh, college basketball doesn't matter till March, it's not like that's not true, because like you're watching these early season tournaments and early season games like decide like what draws these teams get in the tournament. So it's like if you're not following those things all year, like you're missing out on what leads up to that. So it's just like it goes to show that's a dumb argument and statement people make.
I know the Maui Invitational and game like tournaments like that determine how seeding goes later in the year, because like that's a whole bunch of quad 1 wins. You got opportunities to get better in your seeding. And
does Marquette get a 2 seed today if they didn't beat Kansas and Maui?
Yeah, I doubt.
Well, especially that version of Kansas. That's I mean, that was them at full strength.
Mm-hmm.
And they interviewed the chair of the committee tonight, and he said they value games, conference tournament games, the same that they value those games in November. So they all matter at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Going back to Iowa.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, going back to Iowa State, I think they're the best number 2 seed by far.
Yeah. So
momentum wise.
So let's run through that region real quick though, and we'll start to go like region by region here. Mm-hmm. UConn, you got UConn, Iowa State, Illinois, Auburn, San Diego State, BYU. Which BYU, by the way, I mean, I have them going to the Sweet 16 in my bracket, but I've been saying all year they're computer tricker of the year. They were number 1 in the net when the net first came out. It was insane, and they've just kind of like hung up there all year, which I feel like is a little crazy. But even then, I like their draw, so I do have them going to the Sweet 16. But so that region, East region, what do you guys think? If you guys want to run through that, and I guess we'll go through these regions and we'll say the 2 teams we have getting to the Elite 8 out of that region. If you guys wanted, I'm kind of thinking of it on the fly, but I think that's the easiest way to do it. So if you guys want to do that and just like run through that region, what do you think about the teams and who do you have going to the Elite 8? Who wants to
this
go?
is pretty cut and dry for me.
Yeah.
UConn's the best team, I think, by a relatively comfortable margin. I think there are going to be some good games in between there. I think the potential for San Diego State Auburn, that's going to be a fist fight to the end.
That's not going to be the fate of heart.
Yeah. Ultimately, UConn should be the Final Four team. I would, outside of that, you know,
If San Diego State beats Auburn, by the way, I don't know if this has ever happened. We have a chance to get a national championship rematch in the Sweet 16. I don't know if anything like that's ever happened, but
yeah, off the top of my head, I cannot remember that ever being the case. I know there have been national championship rematches in Final Four. I know 2007, Florida played UCLA in the Final Four after they played the national championship the year before. Trying to think of anyone else, but off the top of my head, I cannot think of anyone there. So yeah, that would be pretty crazy. But ultimately, that should go the same way the national championship went if they played again. Illinois is hot, but yeah, that BYU team is tough, man. They are men. They are all grown men. They execute really well offensively.
and they
They're
shoot
fun
the three
team to
ball.
watch. They do. They shoot the three well.
More than they shoot. I believe that they're number one in the country, and I think it's them and Creighton are the two highest.
They
3
shoot
points.
well. They have 4 players married, so no commitment issues with this team. They're very tough in that regard as well. So
Who got
who
got suspended for cheating on their girlfriend or whatever in 2010, the Jimmer year?
So 2011, Brandon Davies, he was clear-cut the second best player on that BYU team after Jimmer, and that was a heartbreaker for them because they made Sweet 16. They lost to Florida that year in overtime, and then Butler won. They went to the Final Four in that region. So had Brandon Davies just kept it in his pants, they probably Jimmer could have been in the Final Four.
Yeah. Should have just went with the earthquaking.
Yeah, really. Goodness. I'm not sure about Iowa State in this one. That whoever wins Washington State Drake is going to be a really tough draw for them. Tucker DeVry, if they play Drake, will be the best player on that floor in that game.
Washington State has a hell of a story, by the way. Coach from Washington State. This is what I was talking to you about before. I'm bad on remembering specifics, but I know their top 3 scorers are all transfer guys from mid-majors.
It's the same as like Utah State. Utah State brought back 0 points from their roster last year. They brought in 5 new guys in to start under Danny Sprinkle. Shout out to Danny Sprinkle. He's awesome coach there for them.
And one of their leading scorers is he beat cancer. And he transferred from.
Yeah. So and the Pac-12 outside of Arizona for me was unwatchable. I hated the conference storylines going into the season because it was all about like, how can we make Bronny James the biggest name in college basketball? And that's all they cared about.
People, all the gambling people picking USC to win the Pac-12 tournament, like going into the league?
Yeah, it's like, what do you people know? Clearly nothing. But yeah, Clutch Sports just sent someone to move the line or something. But yeah, I hated the Pac-12 going into the season. For some reason, people had higher expectations of it because the football season for them went really well. They had nothing for basketball. They were looking like a one-bid league for a while, and then Washington State started playing really well in conference.
When they got that win,
beat Arizona twice.
Yeah, they got that win on the road at Arizona. That was one of the best games of the season. I'm very glad I stayed up to watch Pac-12 after dark that night. That was one of the games of the year, and I was happy to see Washington. And that's probably that one win. And I know it's hard to break a resume. That one win probably just solidified Washington State's resume from like a bubble team to like a solid 7 seed. Like,
Arizona has some questionable results on the season, but when they beat them twice, the game in Pullman was a great one for them there. But yeah, Kyle Smith, really good job.
He's a good
with
coach.
that Washington State program. But I think
and they will be in the West Coast Conference next year
because he won.
Crazy. Yeah,
it's funny. He came from San Francisco to Washington State. Came from Columbia to San Francisco to Washington State. All 3 very tough places to win. So I think that speaks to his resume as a coach.
Talking about the East bracket, though, real quick. Obviously, Connecticut is the favorite. Mm-hmm. And there's teams in there in the mix like San Diego State, Illinois, Iowa State, and Auburn. But here's the thing that sits to me in that portion of the bracket with the East. UConn, number 1 adjusted offense, 11 defense. And then you go down to a team like Illinois, for example, number 3 offense, but the 93rd defense. Then you go to a team like Iowa State, number 55 offense, but the best defense. And go to San Diego State. They have the number 62 offense, but the 9th defense. And then you go to teams like Auburn, number 10th offense, number 4th defense. I think if a team in the East is going to knock off UConn, it's going to be Auburn because they're the most balanced. They have the best combination of offense and defense and depth to give UConn trouble. If UConn doesn't win that portion of the bracket of the East, it's going to be Auburn that knocks them off. Because I don't know if all those teams like the San Diego State, the Iowa State, or the BYU have enough to pull it together on both sides of the ball to knock them off. If anyone beats them, it's going to be Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn has the deepest team aside from UConn. The depth could be what gets them through San Diego State because that's what you need to beat that team there. Yeah, Auburn's got a really deep team. It should on paper beat them. Iowa State matches up horribly, I think. They just, they scored well in the Big 12 tournament, but throughout the season, Gilbert and Lipsy, their 2 guards, are studs, but they don't, create a ton. They're a slower team. Auburn on paper probably, Broom's a guy who can stay with Klingon. That's usually something that's required to, win the losses for UConn. They lost to Hunter Dickinson. That was at Kansas. And then they lost to, at Seton Hall, Ryan Kalkbrenner for Creighton. So you do need a big, and Broom's one of the best. So they do have the pieces to beat that UConn team.
And like you said, though,
in Boston.
In Boston's tough.
Like you said, coming off the bench, Dylan Cardwell off the bench, there's been schools that have tried to recruit him to go start for them in the SEC and out of conference. So having him come off the bench to fill in for Janai is huge because Dylan's a better defender than Janai is. Now, Janai's been a better offensive player, and it's not close, but Dylan's just a better defender, so he can come in and give you effective minutes guarding that big man that UConn will have.
Yeah.
So we'll put a bow on that region. I'll ask 2 questions. I'll say first weekend, what's your biggest upset coming out of that region? Like who's your team that either pulls off a big upset in the first round or gets to the Sweet 16? And then the next question, which Pfeff, I know you haven't had a chance to fill out a bracket yet.
Yeah.
So you just have to be going on the fly here. Mm-hmm. And then the next question I'll say is who are your 2 Elite 8 teams coming out of that region?
I was thinking about this. Like I was looking down through here, this East region, there's teams that could upset people here. Like the 12, 13, 14 seeds, those are some good offensive teams. Teams that'll give you tough games, even if the big, like UConn wins and stuff. The 16 seed, I think Stetson is the toughest 16 seed in the entire bracket.
That is a joke. Stetson should not be a 16. They would beat the shit out of all the other 16s. They would be minimum minus 12.5 over like Grambling or Montana State or that
one dude had 45 points in the conference title. Like I was scared shitless that Purdue was going to get him because they have 2 Indiana kids on there. And then Morehead State, I think they could get Illinois because Illinois, they
can't defend shit.
Yeah, that Coleman Hawkins will just talk trash and then give up 30 points. Purdue played him earlier this year. That one, he was the OVC Player of the Year. I forget his name. He can hit threes. Yeah. I think that might be one of those upsets. I was talking about Morehead State coming to this tournament. But my Elite 8 teams are probably going to be UConn and Iowa State for this region.
And who is your biggest surprise in the first weekend? Either an upset or a team to get to the Sweet 16?
Sweet 16. Let's
Either
see.
it can be like a big first round upset or just like a team like lower seeded to get to the Sweet 16. Just your biggest surprise from the first weekend out of that region.
Mhm. I'd say probably be BYU to the Sweet 16, and I'll probably take Morehead State over Illinois, to be honest.
What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I'm big on UConn. So I'll just save you the trouble and put them in the Final Four over anyone. But yeah, they should be good, really good first round games. I mean, FAU Northwestern should be really good game.
Mhm.
Boo should go for 30 points. I mean, he has to if they're gonna have a chance to win, probably. UAB is athletic as shit. They have some serious athletes on that team. Ultimately, probably, San Diego State just is more experienced than what they've seen, and they haven't seen a player like Liddy, so that'll be close.
By the way, I just wanted to mention real quick, you brought up UAB. I was on the wrong side of the South Florida UAB game yesterday, betting wise, and it's a shame what happened in South Florida, man. They had I think 3 quad 4 losses in the non-conference, so like that'll take you. But they had such a good year.
Shame what happened in South Florida. Well, Temple could have been the story of this tournament. The amount of point shaving going on in that program. They almost made it into the field. That would have been electric. I would have paid to see. I would have gone wherever if it was like Temple versus McNeese State, and like Will Wade is collectively trying to shave points himself or something, and yeah, I would have been there for that. But yeah, Temple not making it travesty. That's. I mean, albeit,
I wanted to give USF some flowers too because they were a great story this year. They were a great team.
First year head coach coming from Kennesaw.
Yeah,
he turned that program around. I wanted to quickly mention that Northwestern Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic's probably going to win that game, but Northwestern's had a great year. One of their starting guards got hurt, so they're probably not going to need. They're probably going to need a Herculean effort from Boo to win.
You need really good guard play if you're going to beat FAU and Dusty May because that's where they make their money. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that I would say UConn, BYU, in an Elite Eight. Not sure I trust.
Do you have a big first weekend surprise upset?
I would not be shocked if Washington State or Drake beat Iowa State. That's what I would say there.
I'll just say
that would not shock me if they pulled that off.
Because I'll just say real quick for mine, my biggest surprise is BYU Sweet 16. I have them getting there as well, especially, against Illinois, who can't defend anything. I have them getting past Illinois, and then, I don't really have any big upsets in the first round in that region or anything. So, what do you have?
I don't have any big upsets in the East. I just see it kind of being playing out as everyone thinks. Like y'all said about FAU, you need good guard play, or against them, you need good guard play. Like you said, UAB is very athletic. I still think San Diego State will take care of business. I don't see any major upsets here. Like Drake beating Washington State, that's not a big upset. A 10 beating a 7, that's not enough to be like a needle pusher for me or anything. So I don't see anything major in this division of the bracket. I mean, I don't have anything outlandish.
All right. I'll just say real quick before we move on, we'll do the West next. Just looking at the bracket here on Tournament Challenge, but I'm with Matt. I could definitely see whoever comes out of that Washington State Drake game giving Iowa State a game. So I would not be surprised if we see an upset there. But Iowa State's had a great year. They're hot from the Big 12 tournament, so it's hard to pick against them. So I went ahead and moved them along. But I guess in that case. We didn't say our Elite Eights.
Oh, we didn't.
I have Auburn, Iowa State as mine. I have Auburn getting past Iowa State.
I got UConn, BYU.
Biased.
I had the same thing. So.
I will fully admit my bias there, but we have a great team. It's hard to pick against us right now.
I mean, when I watched this team today play an SEC tournament, the vibes of the 2019 Final Four squad just come rushing back. Just the way they play, you can tell the love for they have for each other as a unit, and how they play the game, passing up a good shot for a great shot. and how they lean on the inside out play using Janai Broom in different spots in the post. This team loves to play for each other, and if they make the Final Four, it wouldn't shock me the way they're playing.
So,
UConn losing any game in the tournament probably would shock me. So that's the only thing for me. But
we had the same though, Auburn, Iowa State, right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I will say UConn it will be tested in this bracket. A lot of bad matchups for UConn with Auburn and
Just a lot of
Iowa
great
State.
teams.
Yeah.
Like, San Diego State,
Mhm.
if they win the game, I mean, they gave them a run in the national. UConn pulled away late in that game, but
Yeah, San Diego State just didn't have the offense to keep up. That was their big issue.
so, but I guess that'll do the East, and we will move on down to the West. So let me get this pulled up. All right, so that region, North Carolina as the 1 seed, deserve it, undeserved. We already had that discussion with Iowa State. Probably deserved it more than UNC there, but UNC gets the nod nevertheless. So yeah, UNC as the 1 seed, Arizona as the 2 seed, Baylor as the 3 seed, Alabama as the 4, St. Mary's as 5, Clemson as 6, so yeah, so on and so forth. But yeah, so in that region, this region is wide open to me. It would not surprise me anybody coming out this region. Arizona is a team. I'll just go ahead and say it. I have Arizona coming out of this region, but like Matt mentioned earlier, Arizona has been kind of floppy down the stretch. And also, when you look at Tommy Lloyd's tournament record the last couple of years, it's not great. I've been burnt on them the last couple of years. I've had them going deep, and I'm probably an idiot because I'm going with them again to make another deep run, which may or may not be smart. So we'll see. But I have Arizona coming out of that region. I think and if we get to the Elite Eight, we could have the potential Caleb Love versus North Carolina match, which would be a fun one to follow. But I wouldn't be surprised if North Carolina gets picked off before then. But a lot to look at. I'm kind of tipping my hand there. I have St. Mary's picking off North Carolina in the Sweet 16 in my bracket. So St. Mary's has lost 1 game since Christmas. They had that weird game against Missouri State on Christmas Eve, I believe, that they lost. And ever since then, that's just been a red hot team. That's hard to pick against. So I think St. Mary's is a great, well-rounded team that can make a run out of there. But then again, as you look back, their tournament record isn't great. Is this year Randy Bennett's able to switch that and make a deep run? We shall see. But I think a wide open region for sure. What do you guys think about the West?
Yeah, like you said, it's a wide open region. One thing I do have, I think the winner of that region, I think it'll come out of that St. Mary's and Alabama matchup. Whoever wins that, I think, is the winner out of that region. I think upset-wise, I'm going to go New Mexico over Clemson.
I have
may
that
not
as
be
well.
an upset. Yeah, Baylor is a good team, but if they get cold, they get cold. Like, I don't think they're going to do much. They may go to the Sweet 16. But
you mentioned Clemson there. Like, we already talked about New Mexico before you got on here as an underseeded team out of the Mountain West that did a good job in that league. Clemson just got their fucking doors blown off by Boston College last week. So I think that's going to be I picked it. William Luke picked it. Like, we filled out our brackets together. That's going to be a very popular 11-6 upset there.
Because Brad Brunell's he's captain underperformer at Clemson. Like, fans wanted him gone a long time ago, but he's just stuck around somehow. So that
makes about the West, Matt.
What?
I was asking Matt what he thought about the West.
Yeah, this one frustrates me because we were talking before. I think UConn, Iowa State, Illinois, Auburn probably should be favored to win that region if they were in it, maybe, depending on who you talk to or who you ask. But it's good. UNC is not going to have an easy game aside from Howard or Wagner. But Mississippi State, They are tough as nails.
I can't
Josh Hubbard
confirm.
could sink them. Yeah.
can't-
Tolu Smith is a dog.
They
yeah,
had me about to have a fucking aneurysm yesterday.
Every
Yeah,
time we play them, I go,
is
dear God,
badass.
just let Tolu Smith be off because he is so good. And every time we play him, he gives Janai Broom hell every time. I hate having to play them when I know Tolu's on that roster. I hate it.
Yeah.
That Michigan
And then-
State, Mississippi
Yeah,
State
I
game,
like-
by the way, that's if there's a game to bet the under in the first round, that's
Yes,
that game's gonna be in the
please
50s.
be at that one. Yeah. So that's going to be a tough one for UNC there.
I saw on ESPN earlier, I was telling him they had a graphic and they were showing that game, and it just said MSU 50% chance to win. I was like, yeah, that about
Yeah,
explains
I would
it.
say so. But these other ones, these double-digit seeds actually stand a decent chance. Like Grand Canyon, they're well-coached, good, balanced, athletic team. I've never been a fan of St. Mary's basketball at any point in my life. I mean, this is one of the better St. Mary's teams that they've had. Aiden Mahaney is one of my favorite guards out there, but that could be a game. I would not be shocked if Grand Canyon beat them. Bama, we've talked about for months. It's a like when, not if kind of thing. When someone's going to beat them. Sadly, I do not think it'll be Charleston. Not the right matchup for them in round one. If it were Grand Canyon, I would not be shocked if that would be a one where Grand Canyon could beat them. But
The Charleston over Bama one is going to be one that I feel like a lot of people are going to pick in their brackets because they're going to be thinking about last year's Charleston team.
Yeah, that would be a mistake.
Yeah, last year's
yeah.
Charleston team was pretty great. I thought they were going to beat San Diego State. San Diego State's defense last year was too much.
Yeah, so I mean, Auburn. I do not think Auburn will make it to the second weekend, or Bama will make it to the second weekend. But yeah, they, if not Charleston, then St. Mary's will probably give them the clamps. Mark Sears will not have room to do anything.
That's St. Mary's Bama match, which St. Mary's has to get past Grand Canyon, like you mentioned. Grand Canyon's a good team. That's a potential upset spot, but that is not a good spot for Bama to be in against a team like St. Mary's that can play on both ends of the floor. Like it'll be a lot like we saw with San Diego State and Bama last year, which that was a better Bama team than this year's Bama team. But
St. Mary's rebounds really well. That's Bama's, so it's a tough one for them. Every year there's just a team at the end of the first weekend, and you're just like, how is that team like a 4, 5, or 6 seed? And this year it's going to be Clemson, and that's going to be one where everyone's like, New Mexico just beat Clemson by 8 and controlled the entire game. How did that happen? It's like, well, maybe because they stink.
So are we all New Mexico over Clemson? Or are we all?
Yeah,
it feels like we're all in consensus.
Yeah, I mean, barring New Mexico like running out of gas after Mountain West tournament. New Mexico's another one of those teams that weirdly grades out well metrically. For as fast as they play, they're a good defensive team. As long as Brad Brownell has been the coach at Clemson, I've never been impressed by a Clemson team. I've never once thought like, oh shit, here comes Clemson. Like unless Dabo's running down the hill, like Clemson does not deserve your attention.
It kind of makes me question UNC as a 1 seed too, like since they lost to them at home.
I know.
Like,
that's the reason they're where they are.
I think Mississippi State could beat North Carolina in the round of 32.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, especially after that Tennessee game.
Got it picked right now.
Yeah. So I mean, Dayton, Nevada's going to be a war.
Nevada
be a grind.
I could
Dayton
see Nevada.
Deron Holmes, one of the best players in college basketball. He's a machine. Arizona probably will finally get past a 15 this year.
Will they?
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what their record is against 15 seed with their coach unemployed while coaching the team at the same time.
That is a wild story.
So weird. And the thing about it is,
do they keep him now? Like
thing
What
about
does he
one-
do? Like, does he like Michael Scott then? Like, well, how the turntables? Like, how does that? What do you do? Like, I mean, I don't see anyone who like they're a Big West school. Who's leaving for Long Beach State? You're kind of like stuck with what you got there. So, yeah, I mean, that's a weird situation. The guy's
Yeah,
like,
it's such a
"No, you
weird
tell Jim
situation."
Harbaugh who's got it better than me. I do. Who's got it better? I have it better. It's like, I find that very hard to believe, but
That's the kind of school you find like Chris Beard, who just beat his wife, or Will Wade or somebody to come fill that job. Like,
yeah,
hey, we'll give you
I'm
a
trying
shot.
to think off the top of my head who in the world they could like maybe like Muss in 5 years.
Yeah, Bob Huggins.
Yeah.
Lots of
So-
5 years.
So,
Bob Huggins
yeah.
drinking margaritas on the beach at Long
Yeah,
Beach.
that's
And the weather's really nice here.
it is, yeah. So, but yeah, ultimately, all things
The
considered,
Dirtbags.
I think the
The
winner of the
Dirtbags,
West,
by the way, we need to
the
mention
Dirtbags, yes. Shout out to the Dirtbags,
Long
Troy
Beach State,
Tulowitzki.
the
Yeah,
baseball. The Dirtbags.
But,
they're just the Dirtbags. Like, that's what they're
Yeah,
called.
that's what they call them. They're actually the 49ers, but they are I think they're the 49ers. Yeah, they are. But yeah, so this is their first. Like, they made it in 2012. That was their last appearance. Casper Ware, a guard for them in 2012, he was awesome. But that team lost to New Mexico. They were 12 seed that year.
Apparently, Long Beach State has talent, but they like underperform. I think that's what is so strange.
Well, yeah. So their coach, yeah, I mean that's why their coaches,
Yeah,
whatever position he's in, because they lost. I think they lost 5 or something going in. To a conference tournament, and then they just kind of sat back and observed UC Davis puke on themselves. And that turned into a mess in UC Irvine. We've spent way too much time on Long Beach State for a team that's going to be shellacked. But
yeah.
We had a whole segment about Long Beach State.
yeah, really. Shout out to the Big West fans. But yeah, I honestly think
I like how we
this
just
region-
talked about Long Beach State
Yeah.
more than we talked about this region at all. Like,
Yeah. So no one thinks the national champion will be out of this region. But yeah. So I think that the winner of the region will be the winner of Baylor, Arizona. I think those teams are the 2 best teams in the bracket. I think the winner of that goes to the Final Four.
so we'll get to the upsets part of this region and all, but I will say real quick, I have my big surprise in this region, just we talked about them a lot already. I have New Mexico dumping Baylor in the round of 32.
I mean,
Baylor is not another team that just doesn't defend well. And New Mexico State's hot coming off that run in the Mountain West tournament. So I'm going with New Mexico. Just, there's always going to be a double-digit seed that gets their way to the second weekend, and I went with New Mexico for this. I really like how they played in the Mountain West all year. I think they're criminally underseeded. The run they went on in that tournament, I went ahead and took them over Baylor.
I mean that makes sense.
The Baylor shirt.
I think
Of course, yeah. God, yeah. I have gear for everyone, but yeah, so that's
I think Baylor and Arizona are like the top 3 seeds are extremely weak in this region. Like Arizona, Baylor, UNC, they all have flaws, like very obvious flaws. I know just watching Arizona, I went to the Purdue-Arizona game. Their big man, he gets winded. Like if they play a team with another big man, he just can't do anything. And if Caleb Love starts jacking shots up, like they start getting in their own heads. And then Baylor, it's the
Careful
same
throwing
issue.
that jacket around. I can go a lot of
Yeah,
directions.
yeah. Baylor, Jacoby Walter, he's talented, but watching them play against Houston, it was the same issue. They just had horrible shot selection. So I could see either of them losing very early, getting upset, but
yeah.
they probably win. They
Baylor
probably
to
win.
me Baylor's a higher seed than a 3. If you look at their schedule, they have had some games that have barely gone against them. They should have beaten Houston at home. Eve Misi, they're really talented, big, just threw the ball out of bounds almost for no reason. They
yeah.
should have beaten Houston. I mean, they have the Kansas win when they were at that time at full strength. They very easily could have beaten them at Fog. So they've had some games go their way, and then some really not go their way in conference. They have the Auburn win, obviously.
We haven't even mentioned Colgate, though. Like, Colgate's a fucking team that runs. I feel like they're a team every year people pick.
Yes, Colgate is a team that runs, but they are probably going to get worked. The Patriot League stinks. I don't know how they got a 14. Colgate has had much better teams than this in the past. They had a team one year. I thought for sure that I was like, man, if they just get this
when they
game
played
with
Arkansas
close. Yeah, it's they have it. And they did not. Spoiler alert. They have no athletes. There are high school teams you'll find that have better athletes than Colgate. They execute well. They play good basketball. But yeah, Baylor is not a team that they wanted to see in the least. So yeah, I mean, their point guard Ray J. Dennis is awesome. Baylor has really good guards. They have, I mean, they're stacked in that way between Dunn, Walter, Ray J. I also really love how his name is spelled Ray, capital J, all one word.
I heard
on the all-name team.
I heard an announcer make a pun about him a couple weeks back. I forget what game it was. It was like he hit it first or something. Or
so real quick,
Boot Shambi needs to relax. Yeah.
In the fucking rock fight we discussed earlier, and I'm pretty sure one of my buddies who's a Michigan State fan is watching. So shout out if he is. But who ends up winning that that rock fight of Michigan State, Mississippi State? Because that'll be an interesting one.
Well, I would lean Mississippi State, but I mean, Michigan State has, they're a pretty battle-tested group, and the Izzo factor always shows itself.
I literally I picked Michigan State because I'm just like Izzo, like March, January.
Yeah, sometimes it can be that simple. Chris Jans is he's always had really physical teams.
I mean, it's like that
Josh
last
Hubbard,
year. When they played Marquette.
So I'm trying to think of like who they really would not want to play. North Carolina. I think they would want no part of Mississippi State more than Michigan State. But because I think they could develop a defense better to, basically clamp RJ Davis than Michigan State could probably. But, we'll see. And then the Baycott factor being how he's going on a second NBA contract and still playing college basketball. So, yeah, so it'll be tough. I mean, sometimes I talk myself into like, well, I'm probably overhyping UNC, and then I have to bring myself back and be like, no, it's actually, they're actually a pretty good team. And they got the Charlotte run for, at least the first weekend. So we'll have that going for them. But yeah, it's I just don't like anyone in that top half. I don't like any of those teams. So I'm big on Baylor, big on Arizona. But aside from those two, really not gonna be confident in any of those other teams.
So we'll do round table again. West bracket, first weekend surprise, Elite Eight. So I mean, I already said mine. I'll get it out the way real quick. My first weekend surprise was New Mexico getting to the Sweet 16, getting over Baylor. Elite Eight, I have Arizona over St. Mary's.
I guess I'll go next. My Elite Eight, I'm going to do St. Mary's versus Baylor. And I think as a surprise, I'm going to say Nevada goes to the Sweet 16. Beats Arizona, by the way.
Yeah, I think of all of these, any surprises, I don't think New Mexico beating Clemson would be enough of a surprise. I would say probably Grand Canyon beating St. Mary's. I would say that would be the biggest. Is Bama going to the Sweet 16 a surprise? I mean, is that a big enough surprise?
Not really.
You said a little while ago you didn't have them getting out of the first weekend.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think that would be. I think if they did, it would be a surprise if they got to Sweet 16. Their whole team.
Do you have do you have Grand Canyon Sweet 16?
No, I can't bring myself to do it because I've seen enough St. Mary's games to. Yeah, but
who are you taking in that pod then? Because
I would say St. Mary's makes it out of that pod. If you put a gun to my head, I would say St. Mary's makes it out of that pod. I would say probably the big surprise in that would be St. Mary's Elite Eight. That's a big-ish, decent surprise.
They're hot though.
But
hot, though.
Yeah. And then, Baylor, Arizona has game of the tournament potential. So I have a very sad addiction to my core four of teams between UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, Gonzaga every year. Going back to Sean Miller, always have been a fan of those Arizona teams. But yeah, I just am not, they are very selective when they defend. If they get a little over Caleb Love reliant, it does not go well.
That's what I was talking about earlier.
So I'll say
it's an ugly region.
it is ugly, and I don't feel confident enough in any of these teams to absolutely say. But I would say probably. I mean, Baylor does not defend, but I don't know if Arizona is the team that will punish them for not defending. And then if Baylor played against St. Mary's or any of those teams in the top, I don't know the Baylor guards are that good, and Eve Misi is good enough to, take out Baycott in, any kind of a matchup with UNC. But so yeah, I would say Baylor, St. Mary's Elite Eight, and I would send Baylor Final Four.
All right.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's so many
I think my big surprise comes in the round of 32. I've already said this. I have Mississippi State beating North Carolina. I like that a lot. I feel like a good read on that and how Mississippi State likes to play as a team and how they defend. So I like them over North Carolina. And then coming out of that pod, making it to the Elite Eight, I have Mississippi State and Arizona beating Mississippi State in the Elite Eight.
Nice. Who you got?
Yeah, I'm good for
that. Elite Eight, I guess I'll go St. Mary's and Baylor.
And who is your surprise?
My surprise is Nevada in the Sweet 16.
Gosh.
One more thing I just wanted to say, there's so many bipolar teams in this region. I could see Alabama or St. Mary's being that Elite Eight team too.
So we have two Arizonas and two Baylors coming out of this region. All right. Well, anybody got anything else from that region before we move down? Where's next? The South. Anybody got anything else on the West?
Yeah, I think Dayton or Nevada is either, they can push or beat Arizona. That game's going to be really fucking close, but ultimately, Dayton is the worst. I'm still mad at Dayton for, the A-10 does not need two teams in this field. I just, had to get that out there. Hate A-10 basketball so much, so. And I don't want to talk about them any further, so.
Dayton will never recover from 2020. I don't think anybody got screwed by 2020 more than Dayton.
Yeah, they were unbelievably good that year, and it's a real shame. That was a tough one.
All right, so South region. I just want to say, as we get this region started, I do not like how Houston finished at all, and that one game completely changed my perception on Houston. When you can go through a game and score 41 points in the Big 12 championship. This is what I told William Luke yesterday. When your floor is that low, I cannot trust you to win 6 games in a row. If your floor is what other good team in this tournament has a floor of winning of scoring 41 points. It's not a thing. And if you're a team at that level and that's your floor, I just can't trust you.
I mean, there is a team whose floor is getting beat by 15 and 16 seeds back-to-back years, but you know, high, low, yeah. Who's counting that? Yeah.
Hey, all I'm saying, you better be careful. Better be careful.
Yeah, but Houston's a really good team. They're the best team. I feel like no one's really watched. Most casual fans are just like, yeah, Houston's good. And they've like, tell me a player for Houston. They're like, I don't know. But they're just kind of a team that sneaks up on everyone. They, you've always heard the thing like, wait until they play a Big 12 schedule. Wait until they do that. And they finally did. Jamal Shed might be my favorite guard in the sport. But yeah, that thing is very real where they only score, 40 in a conference championship game on a neutral floor. That's kind of always been their thing the last few years. They've always been that team with a ceiling. This is definitely Kelvin Sampson's best Houston team. I do think they're better defensively than Iowa State. They rotate much better. They are clear-cut, in my opinion, the best defensive team. They're a little smaller. They don't have a big who can probably, go up against someone like Donovan McClingan or Ryan Kalkbrenner from Creighton or Edie, certainly. So they are the best defensive team in the field. But yeah, that A&M game looms large. That was a really close game in the regular season. Houston is not, they hit the boards hard, but A&M, that's their thing.
I texted you guys earlier, by the way. I'm pretty sure in the bylaws, you're not supposed to have a regular season rematch in the first and second round. I've always known that to be the rule.
Yeah, I don't know when that was updated or redone. I know in the 2012 tournament, UNLV and Cal played in a 5-12 game. They played in the regular season that year, and that was like a shocking thing that they ended up playing again. That was like Anthony Bennett's UNLV, and like Alan Crabb was best player for Cal then. But yeah, they ended up playing again after they played in the regular season. So I don't know how long it has been really. That is a weird draw also. I don't know what's so hard about. I mean, the margins could not have possibly been that thin between like Michigan State and A&M, but obviously they don't want a Big Ten match in the 8-9 in that region either. So yeah, I mean, it's a weird draw for Houston. I will say they got definitely the best draw of the 4-5s. I think Duke it's the most unlikable Duke team that I can remember.
Dude.
And
that whole Duke has managed in the last 2 or 3 weeks to turn themselves back into Duke.
Yeah,
basically between the whole court storming thing and then them losing on senior night and the fans throwing the shit on the floor and John Shire apologizing to his fucking Duke and and I've always hated Duke, and it's now in the last 3 weeks it's all right, we got the fucking the
hatred
back.
back.
This is the Duke we fucking hated all these years. They're back.
I think Wisconsin stinks. Stinks. I mean, they've been horrible. And
do you have I have JMU over Wisconsin. Do you have that as well?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I do.
Pick that. I'm 100% picking that.
So yeah, I'm not a fan of Wisconsin teams. Are grimy. They always kind of find a way, but yeah, not a fan. But yeah, Houston got basically the way you got an Elite 8 bye. If you can get through A&M, you're probably going to play Duke Sweet 16 because Vermont is a horrible matchup for them. Vermont does not match up well with Duke, rather. Yeah. But yeah, so they got a pretty. I mean, they should be Elite 8 minimum, and then it's ultimately going to come down to probably Kentucky or Marquette. You know, going to be one of those teams, I would guess, going up against Houston. But yeah, not really impressed by a lot of the teams there. Kentucky, this is probably the best 3 draw that Kentucky could have gotten, all things considered.
Yeah.
Problem is they just run into potentially Texas Tech, Marquette, Houston. Those 3 teams play hard as shit. They guard extremely hard. Yeah, they all defend really well. And their coaches are clinically insane for defense. So, you know, they can definitely outscore all those teams. But defensively, that's the name of the game for Kentucky now. They're going to have to play some semblance of defense if they want to get through here. But yeah, overall, not really on the edge of my seat for the South regions here.
There's a lot of
That's gonna be
defensive.
Kentucky's Achilles heel. Kentucky can't guard, and they're not going to be able to play as physical as the teams they're going to play against. They're going to get bullied.
By the way, shout out in the first round, Kentucky is playing Oakland. Fucking Greg Campy, who's been at
Yes.
Oakland for 100 years. And he's fucking, like,
Yeah.
I believe this is his first NCAA tournament, or at
No,
least
it's
first.
Well, they
Or-
went to tournament in
Yeah.
2011. That was when Keith Benson was their stud back then. He was like a projected lottery pick at the time. He completely shit the bed in the NCAA tournament, and then ended up really doing nothing with his NBA career there or anything. But yeah, it's been a while for Oakland. There's been a lot of change in leagues for them and everything, but yeah, shout out to them though. I mean, I will remember how valiantly they fought in the Horizon League tournament when they're down 30. But
Hey, real quick, Cody asked, have we declared any Cinderella candidates yet? I feel like we all had New Mexico. That's a one we all have.
I could see Moorhead State in that Illinois. I told them earlier that was my Cinderella in the what region was it? Was it the East? Yeah, East.
Whoever Purdue plays.
yeah, I mean, do we consider like BYU is not that? I don't.
They're not
put
really
them
a
in that
Cinderella
category.
because they're in the Big 12 now. So
Yeah, Washington State or Drake, I don't put them really in that either. I guess if Drake were to do something, that would,
St.
for
Peter's,
most
run it
Packer
back.
fans.
Peacocking, baby.
they play
Bring
10.
Peacock back,
We'll get into that in a little bit, but
or the Cox back and play.
yeah,
No,
The
they shouldn't have been in play in the
Doug
first
Eater
place.
ain't walking through them doors.
duality.
How could manage his bench? That would not be that should have never happened. But
Dude, I told him yesterday, that's what I think of all the crazy upsets we've seen over the years. I think that was like the most ridiculous one, just because like Oscar Sheway scores fucking 50 and 30 and like
that made no
So
sense.
That-
No sense.
that St.
And then-
Peter's team, they just hit like insane shot, like fade away shot.
Like I was concerned because that was the 7-10 that year. It was Murray State and San Francisco, and that was like Todd Golden at the height of his powers at San Francisco, and then McMahon, who's now with he's at LSU. I mean, that was like post Ja Morant, Murray State humming along. I thought for sure one of those teams was going to beat St. Peter's, and then they didn't. And then like Purdue has a week to prepare. And we get, free North Carolina past the Final Four. So,
Jaden Ivey decides to
and
shoot.
then Shaheen gets his job at Seton Hall. It was, that was so stupid. I hated that team. Not a fan. Not a fan of the Peacocks. Was not
you
a
went
fan.
in on Doug? Like,
Was not in on Doug. Clearly,
screw
nobody
him.
else in the country was in
Screw
on
him.
Doug either. He was just like, well, what power conference team will have me? No one? Oh, that's
Bryant.
nice. Yeah. Yeah, go play for Bryant, pal. Yeah, enjoy that. It must be fun to play with Bryant, though. They score a shit ton of points, but aside from that,
He doesn't score a shit ton of points.
No, he does not. Sick
All right,
mustache though on him.
That was the Cinderella talk. But yeah, we're on the south. Hell yeah, we got the St. Patty's Day glass coming through. But that was the we had the special beer bottles too.
Had those at Bristol.
Happy St. Patty's. But so we were on the South region. This was another weird one, by the way, that's just like wide open to me. I have a weird Elite Eight coming through here, and I don't really love it, honestly. Like, I don't love any team in this region. It's a tough one to go through, and it's like, yeah, I like this team to get through this region. We have Marquette as the 2 seed, which they had some injuries coming down the stretch and kind of stumble in. They should have Tyler Kolek back healthy now, but we shall see. I don't really get hung up on like this guy can't win in March stuff, because it's like, how many coaches have had bad losses in March? But nevertheless, the Shaka Smart March thing always follows him around. He's one of those coaches that gets grouped into that category.
Man took VCU to the Final Four.
Yeah.
He can afford some slip ups against Stephen F. Austin and
Northern Iowa,
Abilene Christian. Yeah,
Nevada. I guess he's had a few rough ones over the years. Same with Kentucky, which Kentucky should come out of this bracket. Kentucky is, if there's a year that it's wide open for Cal, he should get it done. There's no excuses. This bracket it's there for the taking for Kentucky. And if Cal can't get it done with this team out of this bracket, I don't want to hear shit. Like, this is the year, and I don't have them going through. I'll say I have an upset now. I have Texas Tech over Kentucky. I think they're a great defensive team. Texas Tech is, and I think they're ripe to shut Kentucky down. And I mean, it's the same thing last year. The bracket opened up and they fucking shit the bed against Kansas State in the second round. And the year before, bracket wide open, you shit the bed against St. Peter's. So it's another year where all the eyes in this bracket, I feel like, are going to be on Kentucky. I haven't looked at the betting odds now. I'll pull those up as we speak, but I feel like Kentucky's probably favored to come out of this bracket if you look at it. So if not, they're probably right there with Houston. But
yeah, Houston should be favored. I mean, yeah, this should be. I mean, it's a good draw for Kentucky. If they play with literally an ounce of grit, they should get through. I mean, scoring wise, they should pound Texas Tech. They're way more talented, but they're better defensively. That's their identity. Graham McCaslin, he's first year coach for them. Old North Texas coach. They play painfully slow basketball. That's their big thing. So
I could not be more wrong, by the way. I need to say, like, Kentucky is plus 850 to win this region, with Houston favored plus 160, Marquette plus 490, Duke plus 550. I'm actually shocked. Like, I thought Kentucky was going to have great odds, or very low odds to win this region, I should say. So if you're looking for a value bet, I would take Kentucky to win this region, because it's there for the taking for them. I think it's wide open, and I think they are the team that, in theory, should come out of this region.
One thing about this region, the top half with like Houston, like the teams up there with Houston, none of them scare me. The only one that scares me, or the only one that I could see doing something, is Nebraska. Nebraska is a tough team. Like, Houston, I don't think they're going to be ready for Kasey Taminga, to be honest. Right after losing by 30 to Iowa State. That kind of gets upset.
I got Florida coming out of the South bracket.
I mean,
I like the way they've been playing. And I know they lost today, but the team they were playing against has been red hot this entire postseason. So I don't think that's I don't think that's Florida being bad. I think that's Auburn just being on a really hot streak. Like, Florida in this bracket, I don't see any team where I wouldn't be like, yeah, they couldn't beat them, or yeah, there's no way they'd win that game. I like Florida a lot, and their betting odds were at plus 1,000. So that's really good value for a team that's probably being a little underrated right now, just because they lost to a bust-off a team today.
It could be honestly anyone out of this region, to be completely honest, because
Yeah.
like there's just so many defensive grindhouses, and then you have like a random offensive juggernaut like Kentucky in there, and you don't know who's going to win those matchups when you go from two separate sides of the country. You know,
I'm with Will Luke though. Like I'm in the same boat. I mean, we'll get to our picks here as we get through the region more, but since I also have Florida coming out of this region, like, and I wasn't going through like, yeah, I think Florida's going to make a Final Four, but just as I'm filling out my bracket and the way it shook out, like they've been playing great basketball, and yeah, they stumbled against Auburn today. They didn't shoot well, and Florida's not a great defensive team, but they've been playing very good. They're the hottest team in the SEC coming down the stretch. Like nobody wanted to play them in Nashville, and I mean they handled their business. They had a tough game against Georgia, but other than that, they ran Alabama out of the gym. They had a slow start against Texas A&M, but got it done yesterday, and they had a tough game against Auburn today. But yeah, I also have Florida coming out of this region. I'm a big Todd Golden fan too, so I think they're a sleeper team, and every year we have one team really surprise people and sneak into the Final Four, and I have Florida doing that this year.
I love it.
Florida's a good team. Who's the player that got injured earlier? Was he one of their starters?
Gosh, his last name was like Hendolgan. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name right now. It's slipping my mind.
Was he one of their impact players? Like something that could mess with them in March? That's my only question on them. Like, because they played good towards the end of the year. It's just when you have an injury like that, like right before the tournament, it screws you up.
Matt, I think you might be muted or something. It looks like you were trying to talk. Couldn't hear you. Can't hear you.
Yeah, he's muted.
Oh, now we lost him.
Technical difficulties.
But yeah, we'll get here. That was an ugly injury, though.
That was bad.
Yeah, I saw that. Like I was watching it on my phone going to the race, and I saw the injury. And I was like, "Oh, that's not good."
Can we hear you now?
You definitely can.
Yeah, we got you now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not going to affect the style they play, but Boise State could probably beat Florida if they're like that's the antithesis to how Florida wants to play. Yeah. Max Rice, another coach's son, at Boise State, he's hit some really big shots for them this year. They wouldn't. He's a ton of what they do, but that's a tough one. I mean, Florida matches up poorly with Marquette. Also, if they ran into that game, with or without Kolek, it's that'll be a game. If you run into Marquette. So, I mean, for me, this seems like a Houston, Kentucky Elite Eight. Ultimately, I mean, I so badly want Kentucky to be there, but it's hard to see Houston not clamping Kentucky for full 40. But Kentucky does have the talent. So
what do we think about the potential Kentucky-Texas Tech matchup? Am I off base there? I really think Texas Tech can have their number defensively and make that a tough game for Kentucky.
If Kentucky just play too soft, like when they get into those grimy games, they, lose focus. You saw them play against UNC Wilmington. That kind of got like that. And who is their? Oh, did they lose to Tennessee the first time? Did they lose to Tennessee?
No idea.
I forget. They were. I think one of the games they played with Tennessee, they lost. It was kind of grimy like that. And
they won the second time. They lost first, I believe. They won the last game of the season.
Yeah, they won. They beat them at the last one. The first game they won.
And Kentucky's been playing good basketball. They slipped up against Texas A&M in the SEC tournament, but I really think Texas Tech, and I'm not just saying that as a Cal hater, Kentucky hater. I don't like Kentucky. I'll get that out of the way. It's like maybe I am a little biased, but like really trying to put that aside, I think Texas Tech is just a bad matchup for them there in round of 32.
They have a great coach. He just has a good style of play, you know. In North Texas, he was very guard heavy, very, you know, grind out the game. Played way higher than they should have. Had a lot of talent there. So we'll see if that comes into play against Kentucky, if they get that far.
It all depends. If Texas Tech, you know, controls the pace and tempo of the game, that's a game they could win. If it's basically Pop Isaacs versus Reed Shepherd and Dill and, you know, Justin Edwards, then they are cooked. That's where it would be, you know, it'd go off the rails for them, because they're not going to beat Kentucky in, you know, track meet there. Reeves will have 25 at half.
And that's if Texas Tech gets past.
Yeah, that's if Texas Tech gets past. Yeah, DJ Burns. I can't
imagine that.
I cannot believe that.
Dude, I mean, that's why I love this sport, man, because who the fuck would have thought NC State, they were tied with Louisville 5 days ago, like with a few minutes left in the game, and they fucking go on and win the ACC. Goddamn. Fucking DJ Burns, big ass fucking carrying them to it. Like, holy
There's
shit.
always some meme player that just like wrecks
that might
everything.
be DJ Burns this year.
I was about to say.
But yeah, I mean, like you say, I think the Texas Tech matchup is tough for Kentucky. So that's why this bracket gets weird for me, and it was hard for me to pick a team because it's just like I really like Texas Tech in that matchup against Kentucky, but I also don't think Texas Tech is a Final Four team, and I also have Texas A&M picking off Houston in that rematch. So, like for me personally, and we'll all get to our predictions, but this bracket got a little weird for me because I'm not high on Duke either. I don't think Duke's a great team. I don't like the way they played. They got pushed around by NC State, but I have a Sweet 16: A&M, Duke, Texas Tech, Florida, and it's kind of how it played out for me. And I got Duke, Florida, and I don't know. It was a weird region for me to predict. It's like I don't on paper see any of those teams as a Final Four team, so it's just kind of like who do I trust to make that run? And I guess I watched a lot more SEC than anything else. So that's why I kind of lean Florida there to get hot and go on that run. Man, it's a weird region. Like I don't feel good. Like, this was my rough bracket that I did like as soon as the bracket came out. So like I could certainly see myself changing that. But
I feel the same way because like in this region, I don't feel confident about my picks. Just because like you said, Duke, I think they might be an Elite Eight team, but not because they're good, but because they just get favorable matchups the whole way. Same with Marquette.
Yeah, it's basically the Marquette and Kentucky game that I would have to.
Yeah, that's who's going to come out of this region, I think.
Jacob, I know you said you like what am I looking at? Oh, Nebraska over
Nebraska.
A&M.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of honed. I think A&M should be able to take care of business against Nebraska. And I really like A&M in that rematch against Houston. Just the way Houston has stumbled into this tournament. And one of those one seeds is going to get picked off on the first weekend. It always happens. It's going to happen. One of these one seeds is going to go down. And I just kind of see Houston as that this year.
Yeah.
I think the rematch with A&M. I really like Buzz Williams and what he's able to do. And I think they'll be able to have Houston's number. Matt, I see you shaking your head.
Buzz annoys the shit out of me.
I mean, he's basically the sixth player on the floor.
Yeah, I hate it. At least we didn't hear we didn't get an essay about how they were left out of the tournament this year. So that's
When they played Tennessee a few weeks ago, when he called that timeout where he ran out.
guy is insane. Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta look up this video while we keep this going.
There's those college coaches that always are just like absolute nutballs. Like,
Well, nothing quite beats
out of pocket
Kevin
behavior.
Stallings threatening to kill a player in the handshake line for I don't even remember what he did, like clapping in someone's face. That was great stuff, though. Shout out Kevin Stallings, the last relevant Vanderbilt head coach.
yeah. Fun fact: he was a Gene Cady assistant.
By the way, me and William Luke were talking about who Vandy should hire yesterday. For the record, I think they should hire Will Wade. I think that's the home run hire for them. But
They're
how
too
funny
uppity.
would Bryce Drew come back
Go
to
back?
Vandy? Yeah.
No, probably not.
I hope they hire Bucky McMillan from Sanford.
Yeah, Bucky Ball to the SEC would be fun.
Dude,
I just want him out of the SoCon because
this
Bro,
one, right?
Yeah, get the fuck off the floor. What is he wearing also? He looks like a bank teller, from the Great Depression. And then now,
The craziest timeout I've ever seen.
Dude,
it's funny you mentioned that.
It's got to be a Texas A&M thing because look at this picture of Jimbo Fisher from this football season.
yeah, he's out of well,
It's a Texas A&M thing. You can't convince me. Like, if there were coaches elsewhere, this wouldn't happen.
They're just like, get on the fucking field.
They were part of the squad now, part of the team.
yeah.
It's funny you mentioned this. Chris Collins at Northwestern, he's the exact same.
Yes, he is.
What?
He's crazy in his
And
own
fucking
right.
Fran McCaffrey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Collins grabbed when Purdue was playing him last year. He like grabbed a player on the court, like it didn't get teed up, and then when Purdue played him earlier this year, he got teed up at the very end of the game. Like, just chill out, dude. Just chill.
Yeah. Chris Collins got a technical against Gonzaga in the 2017 tournament. That kind of ruined their chances of
He was,
beating
like, on
them.
the
That was
floor.
game. Yeah, I was like, what is wrong with you? After the game, he's like, I had to make a point. It's like, yep, you made your point. Yeah. Good job, Chris. Yeah. Way to fucking go. Enjoy the off season. Yeah.
I had to make a point.
Yeah. Point made, pal. Yeah.
Oh shit! So we're kind of getting off the rails with this region, but I mean, anybody else got anything they want to break down, or you just want to get to our? Like I said, like I've done with the other regions, we'll do your surprise of the first weekend. I have James Madison over Wisconsin. Matt, it seemed like you agreed with that. James Madison.
Yeah. I got
second
JMU, and I'll say Boise State or Colorado probably beats Florida.
Okay. Well, so you're off for me there because, like I said, I have my weird Sweet 16 out of that region. I have Florida over Duke in the Elite Eight. So, if you guys want to get to your breakdown of this region before we put a bow on this one and move on.
I guess I'll start. I'll do my two surprise picks. I agree with you on JMU over Wisconsin. And then, of course, Nebraska. I'm going to have Nebraska upsetting Houston and going to the Sweet 16. That's my big, first weekend surprise. I just think Nebraska plays pure chaos ball.
If I can say real quick, by the way, I just wanted to mention JMU, Wisconsin. I love it. The Pardon My Take Bowl. You love that. They should have a fun podcast this week. So I did want to bring that up. But go ahead. Sorry.
And then for my Elite Eight picks, I'm going to have Marquette and Duke, and Marquette coming out of this region. I just think Marquette, they're a built team, physicality, and just good matchups all along the way. I don't think Kentucky. I think they fold, and this is going to be one of Cal's last years, to be completely honest.
Well, he's there as long as he fucking wants.
Yeah, guy's got a lifetime contract. You're gonna have to hire an assassin to get a new coach.
He'll step down. Retire peacefully.
Dude, if they lose the first weekend with this team, it's gonna be fucking loud.
I think Kentucky makes it to the Sweet 16. I don't think they lose early.
Is that enough for that lunatic fan base, though?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say you should probably set a line of who between Sister Jean and Cal who makes it who lasts longer here. That's-
Cal's gonna be like our buddy from Oakland, Campy. He's gonna be fucking coaching there forever.
But yeah, this should be Houston, Kentucky Elite Eight, and this should be Kentucky Final Four. Should be. If it is not, it is they are in trouble.
Gross.
I just accidentally. So there was like a little bit left in this can, and I had been spitting my sins I was done with in here, and I just accidentally drank out of it. That was not good.
Delicious. Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Well, what was your Elite Eight again? I'm fucking.
No, that's actually good that you lead into that because I will drink one of those live on camera if Kentucky does not make the Elite Eight with this team, probably. Because
this is really good, by the way. This is Nasty Beast Monster Green Tea, 9% alcohol or 6% alcohol.
Yeah.
good
stuff.
Yikes. That'll do it. That'll do the job.
This is the SEC champs drink right here.
Goodness. Yeah.
We don't win championships a lot here on the plane, so we got
That's fair, yeah.
Dude, we were in an Uber last night, and this guy was like he was a Bama fan in our Uber. He was fucking. He's a cool dude though. He's like SEC championship. He's like, y'all are happy about that? He was like, goddamn right.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Like,
What's that guy? Yeah, like under Coach Saban, we don't celebrate those.
oh fuck, dude. Which is, by the way, funny you bring that up. It is after Kalen DeBoer leaves and goes to Alabama, they send Auburn and Alabama to the same pod in Spokane.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Insanely toxic.
Tough.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was the worst because they sent us to the same pod in fucking Birmingham. When
gosh.
we were a 9 seed and Bama was a 1 seed, and we were all in Birmingham together, and it was fights galore.
Yeah.
Remember the fucking dude outside the thing? We were literally just fights galore.
There was
and
one guy there who was like talking to everybody, this Bama fan, and like he didn't have any other Bama merch on but a hat, and the hat still had the tag on it. So we're yapping. I'm like, did you just buy that hat at Walmart today? The tag is still on it. He didn't like that. He starts approaching us and freaking out. And like, the security guard's like, whoa, 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 whoa. And like, I was about to beat this dude's ass. Like, I didn't care. Like, I'm outside the stadium. It's about to go down. Like, it was
Good friend of
insanely
Harvey
toxic that
Updike,
whole
that
weekend.
guy. Yeah. He's probably.
Dude,
Nuts.
I don't know. Like, I don't think the selection committee thought that one through.
No.
Sending Auburn and Alabama and Birmingham to the same.
Of course
the
they thought it
worst
through.
cities-
That was exactly what they had in mind.
Yeah. One of the worst cities on the planet.
I
One of the
feel-
most crime-ridden cities ever.
I feel like Bama. Look, as an Auburn fan, I feel like Bama fans had like a rightful gripe where they're like, we fucking earned the number 1 overall seed, and we have to share our arena with Auburn, like when they're a fucking 9 seed. Like, I feel like they did have a rightful gripe there. I will be unbiased and say that.
Yeah.
But so you have Kentucky getting to the Final Four
Oh, yeah.
over who?
Hashtag BBN. Yep. Over Houston.
Over Houston. Gotcha. Hell yeah. So, yeah. So William Luke's about to go do some number 2 duties. So he will be MIA for a minute. Yeah, we've been going for almost 2 hours. This is fun. I'm enjoying this.
I am too. Helps me break down the bracket after being at the race all day.
Hell yeah, dude. So yeah, I guess are we moving on from the South? Any parting words? Boise State got fucked. We talked about that earlier. Like, I feel like Longwood. Hell yeah,
Longwood.
they're being sent to pasture.
Yeah.
We almost got Longwood, Moorhead, and Austin P all in one March Madness. Should have had Ball State too.
That was never happening. But yeah.
Dude, I just like, is there anything funnier that could happen this weekend than if Kentucky loses to Oakland? Like,
Purdue losing, yes.
who?
Purdue getting beat would be.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Well, boy, do I have a segue for you, because you know what the next region we have to talk about is, and the last one we have to talk about is the Midwest.
Oh yeah,
We have Purdue. I will start by saying this. Purdue should fucking run through this region.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Purdue got the best draw of any of the 1 seeds by far. Purdue should fucking barrel their way through this region.
This region is like, I was like, when I saw it, I was like, dang, this is perfectly fit for Purdue. Like, no second round super athletic teams, you know. And
I mentioned
avoid
before,
Iowa State.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, that was my thing. Avoid Iowa State. Avoid like Dukes and those people that, you know, those type of teams for the most part. And
so can we I mentioned it earlier, and I wanted to just like talk about this subject as a whole real quick, because I feel like there's 2 coaches, 3 really, if you want to factor in Mark Few in this as well. But like, the whole like this coach chokes in March thing, I just think is stupid, because it's it's a single elimination tournament, and like, guys, because you got Purdue and Matt Painter in this region, Tennessee and Barnes in this region, which Rick Barnes gets slapped with that label a lot too. Oh, this guy chokes in March, can't win in March. Do you guys believe in that label, or do you think it's kind of like an overused thing?
I'd say it's overused, because like, it's so hard to get to the Final Four in the first place. Like, if you are a consistent winner at the highest level of college basketball, you should be respected, you know, regardless. Unless you've done like, you're just paying players to win, you know, freaking, I don't know, like
Will Wade.
Yeah, that type of shit. Like shit happens, man. Like, I think every team ever has been upset in March. Like, it's happened to the best coaches. Coach K got upset. Bobby Knight got upset.
I mean, Coach K lost to fucking Lehigh and Mercer.
Yeah. It's like making a point out of teams. Like, some teams just have shit luck, you know, like with injuries and stuff. That's what's happened to Purdue. 2 or 3 tournaments, our best teams, like, somebody gets pulled down in the first round and smashes their elbow or is out for the year, or some shit like that. But, you know, shit happens.
Matt, are you with us? The whole like this coach chokes in March thing is kind of like overused, or how do you feel on that?
Well, it's overused to an extent. I mean, like, if you've won, like, I don't know if Tony Bennett or Cal necessarily should have that label. They've won the title. They've made, you know, Final Four. There's some. Rick Barnes is an exception, kind of. I mean, guy could not make it out of the first weekend with Kevin Durant. Now he's got, you know, Dalton Connect this year. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's as much on the coach as it is, just like you said, it's difficult to win. It's hard.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley and Bill Self are the best coaches in the sport, probably. Dan Hurley last year was his first big year. He has some first round losses. Not everyone is Brad Stevens. Like, it's hard. So
I'll bring up our like Jesus as like one example here. Like Bruce Pearl. Nobody says that about Bruce Pearl. We got to 1 Final Four. So is that enough for him to just like is that what it is? You just have to get to 1 Final Four and you shed that label forever. But then hindsight, like counterpoint, I should say, like people say that about Mark Few as well, who's in the same region. Mark Few's been to a national championship
twice.
Yeah, he's been to 2 of the last 6 national championships.
But people say the same thing about Mark Few, which that's why I say, like, I think Mark Few's a great coach. He's been to 2 national championships at a program he has no fucking business getting there with. Like,
yeah.
And I've made my jokes about Mark Few too. It's fun to kind of pile on and make those jokes, but I will say I just think it's a ridiculous.
I mean, the
notion.
difference between Bruce Pearl and some of these other coaches, certainly think the personality factors in a little bit, and then there's an element of Auburn has not had that many kicks at the title, really. Gonzaga, in my opinion, has had probably three really good teams that they could have or should have won with. And they didn't. They ran into the best Baylor team of all time and then got hosed. Zach Collins fouled out with 8 minutes to go in the national championship in 2017. They had
the fucking worst game of all time against North Carolina.
Ref job.
Yeah, it was horrible.
What was worse? What was worse? I'll ask a question real quick. North Carolina Gonzaga national championship or UConn Butler national championship?
I think to me it will always be the Gonzaga, because that one could have been a really good game.
Yeah.
Like with Butler UConn, it was almost like Kemba Walker was just at some point going to take over the game. The fact that they were in that game was pretty awesome. But yeah, terrible game. Butler shot 19% or 18%, I think, in the first half of that national championship game, which is horrible. And that was UConn was good, but they were not that was not one of the best teams that Butler had seen in that tournament run, maybe until that point. But yeah, Gonzaga, North Carolina could have been a great game. And it was a good game, but Gonzaga was the best team in the country. North Carolina lost the year before. That should have been if those whistles were swallowed, it would have been a way better game. I think that the quality was just much higher basketball in that game than it was for Butler UConn.
Is there a region more than this Midwest region though that has better storylines coach wise? You have Matt Painter, Rick Barnes, Greg McDermott, which people forgot about Greg McDermott. I guess we're all cool with him now. Bill Self, Mark Few, Lamont Paris and what he's done at South Carolina, Rodney Terry, who I feel like I haven't seen a flip as quick from beloved to hated as I've seen with Rodney Terry this year.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that. He looks and acts like Gus from Breaking Bad.
Coach Fring over here.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted Rodney Terry to get everybody loved Rodney
I know. It's
Terry.
what the hell are you doing? And that Texas team was stacked. No one is a bigger idiot than Tyrese Hunter for leaving Iowa State.
Yeah, I agree.
And then he, goes to this Texas team. They do nothing well. They're full of great athletes and great basketball players. They have no identity. They run really nothing on offense besides let's see how much we can dunk the ball with Disu and our bigs or A. Smith can shoot. That's all they run. They don't run anything spectacular. But yeah, after that, they were like, oh my gosh, Rodney Terry has taken this stacked roster to the Elite Eight, where they should have won, and Miami came back and whooped them in the second half. And yeah, now they're like, maybe he's not quite the coach we thought. Maybe the youth have
It's a real shame Chris Beard had to strangle his wife.
Yes, it is a shame that he had to put his hands on his wife, because that would have been an awesome team. I'm getting ready for the inevitable Ole Miss rise here coming up. But
if he's leaving for another job,
he should. But yeah, that is a shame.
I was running through the coaches in that region, though. I mean, to keep going, you have Jamie Dixon in this region too. He's another character. You got fucking Tony Bennett in this region, obviously. Dana Altman, who's been to a Final Four, and then you got the ultimate, just Will Wade sitting there as a 12th seed, getting ready to wreak havoc, possibly.
Well, you got Bucky McMillan also from Stanford. Bucky Ball's coming to NCAA tournament, televisions everywhere. Love Bucky. Love how Stanford plays. It's exciting basketball. They don't defend anyone, but it's exciting basketball. It's fun. He's in that region. Nico Medved is crazy. Colorado State's coach. He's out of his mind. It's a good group overall. Danny Sprinkle from Utah State, he's not much of a complainer, but yeah, great coach. So yeah, he's yeah, it's a good region, I will say. John Gross, he's the Akron coach. He's a former Illinois coach. He's kind of crazy himself. So yeah, it's got it made.
It's an interesting coach region for sure.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the wildest bracket, to be completely honest. Like, just the matchups in games.
I mean, I think Purdue should fucking mow down this region.
Yeah, like the road there. Like, I'm mostly talking about the bottom of the bracket, but like, it's a good matchup. Like, I think I'll get into it a little bit, but I think the matchup's going to be Purdue versus Creighton in the Elite Eight. I think Creighton is built for March, and that's just it's gonna come down to that whoever is hotter shooting wise.
By the way, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, subscribe, say something in the chat. We're trying to build up the Sectator channel, so just wanted to get that in there real quick. But yeah, I'm with you, Jacob. I also have Purdue and Creighton in the Elite Eight coming out of this region. I think I'll go ahead and say, I guess my big surprise in this region, and Matt, I'll give you the floor after this to give your kind of map through this region. But I'm calling this is probably my biggest upset of the tournament. I'm going Samford over Kansas. Samford is an insane offensive team. They can score the shit out of the basketball. I really don't. As good a coach as Bill Self is, it feels like they're stumbling into this tournament where they just punted on the Big 12 tournament basically to get Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson healthy, basically. But Kansas really did not finish well. This is not a classic Kansas team, and I think Samford's really a great offensive team that can get hot and swing one of these upsets.
Yeah, that's I mean, Samford just does not defend. They do not want to. They play I think they're the fastest team in the country. They play the fastest tempo basketball, and it shows. It's a ton of fun to watch. But Samford has not seen the likes of, any Power 5 competition, or Kansas for that matter, for a while now. I mean, Purdue obviously gave it to them good. That was like a 50-point win or something. Points. Yeah. So they will have to, they'll have to defend, and they'll have to rebound really well if Dickinson's in. So I would be surprised. I think Kansas was ripe for that kind of upset, but I just don't see
bad matchup
Samford being the type of team to do it. But if they did, that would be pretty electric. But yeah, this is I don't necessarily agree that this should be a Purdue cakewalk. I audibly yelled. I have been on McNeese all year. I love Shada Wells. I don't like Will Wade personally. I think he's a complete scumbag, but that guy can coach basketball with anyone in the world. I hate how it's Gonzaga if they're playing. I hate it so much. I wish so badly it was Bam. I wanted to see Mark Sears versus their guards. But sadly, this is what I'm stuck with. And I think Gonzaga is they don't turn it over a ton. They're just good, efficient offensive team. That is not, McNeese just creates a shit ton of havoc and turnovers. I don't know if that will play into their strengths playing Gonzaga, but that sucks. I mean, Oregon over South Carolina, I could see that happening. Oregon's getting healthy. They seem to be playing their best basketball at a very convenient time. South Carolina makes no sense to me.
Everybody's going to pick Oregon over South Carolina.
Yeah, well, because Auburn has ruined the reputation of South Carolina basketball. They can't beat that team. They can't compete with that team.
One of their fucking idiot players or something said, they ain't in that jungle no more. We go to Nashville.
Yeah, they're out of their minds.
By the way, shout out to the snow roaches. We got some snow roaches watching us. The left turn cold.
Oh my gosh. I saw that.
Yeah, Matt, I will give you the backstory on that later. But yeah,
Nice.
the left turn Colt got called snow roaches earlier.
But yeah, I mean, I would say I would say Creighton goes through. I mean, Creighton's got a great draw between Akron. Akron just has. I don't know how. And none of you probably watched MAC tournament, but my boy Enrique for Akron, guy had like 23 points, 21 boards, 7 blocks in the MAC semi against Ohio. He's solid, but they do not have a chance probably objectively against Creighton. I mean, they do, but it's just not, Creighton's similar to Kansas in a way. They got 4 stud starters, and then like they're kind of getting, getting a 5th rotation guy in there to, help out with the supplemental scoring and bench minutes. But their top 4 guys are just as good as anyone else's in college basketball. But and then in this one, I mean, Tennessee's end of the season was rough to watch. It was hard. Makes me sad that Dalton's kind of just rotten on his own. Kai Ziegler sucks.
Hey, and Rick Barnes chokes in March, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was terrible. Vescovy really kind of fell off for them as well. He was actually pretty good for them before, and now he's not doing much. So it's really as far as Dalton will take them, and I don't think that is going to be very far. So
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, so I would say Creighton is. I mean, they match up perfectly with Purdue, how they play.
It's like a perfect match. It's going to be like
draws a shit ton of fouls, and Kalkbrenner doesn't foul. So like his big thing is that he does not foul. So like Edie's just
Purdue doesn't foul. Greg McDermott teams don't foul in general. Like that's
So I mean that'll be a good matchup if it happens. I mean, so Creighton probably objectively has more talent than Purdue does, but it's just a matter of if Purdue can execute, how well those shooters are going to play, how healthy is Smith, and what all do they have. So it'll be. I mean, I'm big on Creighton, and then I would not be surprised if the Gonzaga Kansas winner beat them, if they beat Purdue.
So all right. So we're gonna speed this up. We've been live over 2 hours. So
I agree.
We're gonna start to work towards the finish of this thing. So Matt, you're Creighton over Purdue.
I'll go Creighton over
or Gonzaga.
Yeah, I would say Creighton over Gonzaga. Yeah, can't
Sweet.
quit Gonzaga.
Jacob, you're Purdue over Creighton.
I'm just gonna have to go with Purdue. Be confident.
William Luke has returned, so he hasn't been here for a lot of our Midwest discussion, but he has returned. So what do you think?
I'm back from the trenches, and so I don't have anything crazy in my round of 64 in the Midwest.
He has Will Wade winning the national championship.
What? No. Anyway, so in the Sweet 16, I have Kansas beating Purdue, Creighton beating Tennessee. Then I have Creighton beat Kansas in the Elite Eight. Then I have Creighton over Florida to go to the national championship.
Oh, he's going all the way. Well, we'll just get to our Final Fours if you guys don't have anything to add for the Midwest, and then we'll go ahead and do our Final Fours real quick and give our parting shots and get out of here.
I was just gonna say my upset picks. I think Tennessee's gonna get upset early. Another fun fact: Zakai Ziegler's brother plays on St. Peter's.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Good pull.
And then McNeese. I think McNeese beats Gonzaga. I do not think Sanford upsets Kansas, no matter how hurt Kansas is.
So we're not peacocking again this year.
I don't think they beat. Yeah, I think.
What's a
Tennessee.
peacock sound like?
Do they make noise? It sounds like what they gonna say now? Like that's what they sound like. Shaheen's talking shit after the games. Yeah.
I had to bring back this bit because Gary Parrish on their podcast after they beat Kentucky, he had to do like a peacock impression. It was pretty funny, but this is for the cocks. We got 2 cocks in this region, by the way. It's a region of cocks.
Is that Gary making a squeaking noise? What is that?
He's not playing. He's not making the noise.
Just sitting
I
there.
was gonna say, I was like, the hell is that?
All right, going to another.
Fanning out.
Okay.
Hey, I wasn't that far off.
Yeah. Well, that sounds horrible. Yeah.
Shout out St. Peter's. It's fun having them back in the NCAA tournament. I will always love them for beating Kentucky. So
I'm a peacock. You gotta let me fly. From
great top 5 movie all time. Like, all right, boys. You guys got anything else on the Midwest, or you want to give some Final Four picks and wrap this thing up?
Yeah, that's all I had.
You got anything, Matt?
All good, brother.
All right, so let's get to our Final Fours and then national champions. Everybody can give their little piece for their Final Four and national champion. So I have Arizona taking down Auburn. If Arizona is able to get there in Glendale, they should have a great home court advantage. They should turn out a great crowd there. William Luke brought up a great point earlier. Auburn's last championship was in Glendale.
Correct.
2010. So
Championship. Yeah. Waiting for that to get vacated. Yeah.
I'll go Arizona over Auburn, and I have Purdue over Florida. And then in the championship game in Glendale, regular season rematch of Purdue and Arizona, I took Purdue to cut down the nets. I see the Virginia trajectory with them this year, lose to the 16 seed.
So Fletcher Lawyer will commit a double dribble at some point in the Final Four game, and
You'll do the big balls dance.
yeah, hit 3 free throws to
I didn't need you to do that, but that brought back some bad memories.
I'm never going back.
No.
Yeah, you just triggered me. I got Purdue cutting down the nets, though, man. I really think this is their year. I think this is a different Purdue team than past years. And I said this to William Luke the other day. I think if you're doing a bracket pool this year, you're never going to see a year where nobody wants to pick the number 1 overall seed to win it. And there's going to be a lot of value in your bracket pools if you're watching this on Purdue this year, because I think they've been the best team in the nation most of this year. They have the best resume in the nation. And now they come to this tournament. Everybody's going to be picking them to
Get upset
because of their track record. And they're going to be wide open in your bracket pools to take it this year. So that's part of my thought process this year. I got Purdue over Arizona, which would be a fun rematch from the regular season. That was a fun game.
That was one of the best games I saw all year, like objectively. Just like a fun game on both sides of the court. Lots of clutch shots. My Final Four, I'm going to go Iowa State, Baylor, Marquette, Purdue. I have Iowa State winning and Purdue winning. And I'm going to ride with my Boilermakers and go Purdue over Iowa State.
So we're 2 for 2 on Purdue national champions.
I have to, man. I have to. Because if this ain't our year, man, I don't know when it's going to be.
Fair enough.
This is the best I've ever seen us play. Like, that objectively.
All right. I'll let you get it, William Luke, and then Matt, I will let you take us home.
Yeah, so I got my Final Four. I got Auburn taking on Arizona. Got Florida versus Creighton. And then in the national championship, I have Arizona over Creighton.
You changed that.
I did.
Like from what we were talking about earlier.
I did change it, yeah. I've changed it like 3 times now. I'll probably change it like 30 times. So.
But you have Arizona winning it.
Yeah, I got Arizona winning it, cutting down the nets in Glendale.
Well, despite my core four of UConn, Arizona, Kentucky, Gonzaga, all being able to make Final Four, I'll have to got UConn.
What are the odds on that bet? By the way, you've mentioned it a couple times.
I'd have to check. I think it was like let me see. It was plus something crazy.
Is it a parlay or did you get that as
yes,
a prop?
Yeah. That's like my favorite one to make. But yeah, I UConn for sure. And I think between winner Baylor's and I'll say Baylor gets that. And then Kentucky, and then Creighton, and then I'll say national championship. UConn beats Kentucky for the title.
24, or I guess that wouldn't be avenging, but rematch of 2014.
Oh yeah. I mean that would be that'd be a fun final. But UConn should that would be one that they should win. So I'll take UConn back to back.
So we got Purdue, Zona. Purdue for Jacob, and you're on UConn. All right.
Sweet.
It's been great, boys. I guess we'll all get our parting shots here, but this has been really fun, and I'm looking forward to our recaps nightly. I'm obviously we're gonna have a lot of upsets and madness to speak of, so I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. But so if you're watching now, we got 36 people watching. I'm pretty happy with that number. That's
pretty solid.
Yeah,
that's good viewership for not much notice.
For our first show, and
I appreciate it.
Promoted it a little bit and got a pretty good turnout for it. So looking forward to it. I won't be here Friday night. I hope you guys can run it Friday night without me. I'm going to see Zach Bryan, so
I may not be here on Friday either. I might be in Indianapolis.
So maybe William, Luke, and Matt can hold it down Friday.
I'm good with that, Matthew. Let's rock.
Hell yeah. And I'll try to pull some special guests in, when we do these streams, when their teams play. Guys I know who are fans of those teams, I'll pull them in here to talk about their team's games and stuff like that. That was the idea I had for this and stuff. I have a few people in mind. Definitely the Ball Nation should be showing out here. I know quite a few of them. But definitely a few people in mind for stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to these shows, guys. It should be really fun, and I appreciate you guys signing up to do this, and hope we can keep it going throughout March.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
Oh,
Always love some March Madness.
Oh, yeah. Any other parting shots, fellas? Or are we ready to call it a night?
I think I'm ready to
I just
call
want to
it.
appreciate everybody. Say thank you to everybody who tuned in.
Yeah, me too.
Appreciate y'all, especially on such short notice and it being our first live stream. We really do appreciate that. And go follow me on Twitter at WilliamLH21. That's all I got to say.
You'll be seeing some excellent Caleb Williams content if you follow him. So prepare yourself. Yeah,
it's all right. I'll try to limit it now.
But yeah, no, it's going to be a fun March. I'm glad we got this together, and this should be very fun if tonight was any indication, because I thoroughly enjoyed this.
It was a good time.
Alrighty.
Hell yeah, boys.
All right, I'll see y'all.
Have a good night.
War Eagle, baby.